Hello! Thank you for taking the time to watch this tutorial and learn more about the advanced features in PracticeWeb. These features can help you increase productivity and achieve a truly paperless office. In this video, we will cover the toolbar in the chart module. You'll learn how to enter prescriptions for a patient, see an overview of how the prescriptions work, setting up and using lab case tracking, using the perio chart and ortho charts, paperless consent forms, tooth chart options, and using exam sheets. Since you may not use all of the features in this toolbar for each patient every day, we're going to give you a comprehensive training so that when you do need them, you can use them proficiently. Let's get started. Accessing the chart module. To recap on your previous chart module webinar, you access the chart module by clicking on the chart button on the left-hand side of PracticeWeb. You can recognize the chart module button with the tooth and red filling. At the top of the chart module, you have the main toolbar, which consists of the Select Patient menu, ComLog, Email, Text, Letters, Forms, and Tasks buttons. These buttons are used mainly for patient communication and is the same in every module. Today's webinar is covering the chart module toolbar, which is located right underneath your main toolbar. We're going to go over each of these buttons today. Creating prescriptions. The first button on the chart module toolbar is for printing prescriptions for your patients to take to the pharmacy. There is no need to keep a printed copy for yourself because when you print, it will give you a reference line in the progress notes section, complete with any notes you provide to the patient. To create a prescription from PracticeWeb, click on the New Rx button, and it will bring up a list of prescriptions already entered in PracticeWeb. If you're trying to write a prescription for a medication not on this list, you can easily set that up by going to the List menu at the top of your PracticeWeb software, then clicking on Prescriptions. Click the Add New button at the bottom of the RX setup screen, then enter the drug name. Keep in mind that if you want to have the option for generic and brand name medication, you will need to create this prescription again, but using the brand name of the drug in the name field. Putting a check mark in the controlled substance box is not a requirement for non-narcotic medications, but if you want the DEA number to print on the RX slip, then please check this box. The SIG is the directions for the patient on how much medication they should have and how often they need to take it. The dispense field lets the pharmacy know how many pills they should give to the patient and if there are any refills allowed. RX norm is not a required field and only is used if you are participating in the EHR incentive program. The notes box is only for your office use. For example, if you wanted to make a note about a possible drug contradictions or give advice to the patient once they start taking this medication, you can document it here. PracticeWeb does have built-in medical alerts that will prompt you to choose another medication if a patient has a specific problem, medication they're taking, or an allergy. For example, if a patient is allergic to penicillin, you won't prescribe Pen-VK to a patient. If you click the Add Allergy button, and then select penicillin, if any patients in PracticeWeb have penicillin listed as an allergy in their medical history, then the software will give you a prescription warning before completing this prescription. Once you have added any necessary details for this prescription, you can click OK to save. Now, if you would like to print this prescription for the patient, you can click the New Rx button. Double-click on the prescription and click on Print at the bottom of the screen. This will print the prescription slip for your doctor to sign, and then put a reference line in the progress notes section. If you wanted to see a quick reference history of any medications prescribed for this patient, you can click on the drop-down arrow and click on Rx Manage. Here, you can see a quick history of prescriptions for this patient, and, if needed, click on the New Rx to create a slip for a refill. If you would like to use electronic prescriptions within PracticeWeb, you first need to set up an account with New Crop Rx. Please contact our sales team for more information on how to get started with this service. If you would like to see how the electronic prescriptions work in detail, that topic is covered in a separate training video. Lab Case Tracking. The next feature on the chart module toolbar is for lab case tracking. There's nothing more embarrassing than having a patient show up to an appointment for a crown or bridge seating and not having the prosthetic back from the lab. This feature can help prevent that from happening. To use the lab case tracking, first you have to set up your lab information. To set up your labs, go to the Setup menu, then Laboratories, and click the Add button. The description is the lab name, then enter the rest of the lab's contact information. The Notes section is for important information like pickup times or hours of operation for this lab specifically. You can also use the Sheets framework to customize a lab slip if they prefer that you use their own lab slips. To track when to expect your prosthetic back from this lab, click the Add button on the left of the turnaround time section. The service description is the prosthetic, whether this is a crown, bridge, or denture. Days published is the number of days it takes for the lab to create the prosthetic in the description. Actual days includes estimated delivery time. This field is what will help you calculate the date as to when you should schedule the seating appointment. Make sure you click OK to save. You should set up the information for any labs you may use regularly. Back in the chart module, to create a lab case, click on the Lab Case button. Select the name of the lab that you would like to send the impression to. Now, select the prosthetic. You can see that PracticeWeb will automatically give you the due date based on your setup. This will let your staff know when to reschedule the patient's next appointment based on when you're expecting their finished prosthesis. You can also put in any instructions for your staff and click the Send button to show that this impression will be picked up today. Click OK. When your patient goes up front to schedule their next appointment, your staff will already know the time frame as to which they would like to schedule. When they are in the process of creating the appointment on the Edit Appointment screen, they will click on the Lab button. You will see the lab case you created in the chart module. Click OK to attach it to the appointment. Now, click OK to save your appointment. You can see on the right-hand side of the appointment module that there is a pending lab case. If you hover the mouse over the appointment, you can see the status of an individual patient's lab case. Let's say that you received a crown or bridge back sooner than expected. It doesn't matter which day you are on in the appointment module, you can click on the Lab Cases button and set the status of a lab case as received or quality checked. If I go back to the day on the calendar, you can see that the lab case field is updated. and the status has also been updated on the patient's appointment. If you use this feature and you see that there is a lab not received today, you can call the patient well before their appointment to get them rescheduled. The next button on the chart module toolbar is for the perio chart. In the upper left-hand corner, you see the recorded history of all your exams for your patient. In the main screen, you have the chart where you can document the pocket depth and the measurements for the mucogingival junction, gingival margins, furcation, and mobility of the teeth. On the right, you can use the condition buttons to document the conditions of specific teeth. The number buttons in the upper right are for entering information if you are using a touchscreen or tablet PC. We'll talk about this lower right corner in just a couple of minutes. To start a perio exam, click on the Add button on the left. You will see that it will put a date on the chart. If you had documented that there were any pre-existing missing teeth on the graphical chart, you will see that they are automatically grayed out, and the measurements will start at the first available tooth pocket. If you are using the numerical keys on your keyboard to enter the pocket depths, you can start typing the numbers as a hygienist is calling out the numbers. If you want to document the measurements for MGJ, gingival margins, furcation, or mobility, then use your mouse to click on that line and start your documentation. If you notice any conditions like plaque, calculus, bleeding, or suppuration, you can click on the tooth pocket, then click the buttons on the right to reflect what you observed in this exam. Depending on the level of this patient's periodontal condition that you really want to make sure you observe for this patient's recurring perio treatment, you can have those numbers show up in red on the chart. Currently, the chart shows any pockets that are greater than 4 millimeters as red, but you can change this to 3 or 5 depending on your diagnostic preferences. You just click on the up or down arrows next to the measurement type to change your setting. Once you have completed the exam, you can click on the Count Teeth to give you an exam summary. If a patient receives treatment like an implant or crown, you can click on the tooth number from the chart and click on the Skip Teeth button in the lower right. This will make that tooth active so you can continue your documentation of the pocket depths. In reverse, if you didn't mark the tooth as missing on the graphical tooth chart yet, you can select the tooth and click Skip Teeth to gray it out, and the software will automatically skip over it when you're entering your measurements. Once you have completed your exam, you can click on Save to Images, and this will store a copy of that perio chart in your Images module. Before you can save your chart to images, you do need to set that folder up first. Go to Setup menu, then click on Definitions. Select Image Categories. Make sure you have a folder called Perio Charts. If you do not have a line item like this in your software, you can click on the Add button at the bottom of the Definitions screen and create it. If you would also like to see your perio charts history quickly and easily at the bottom of your chart module, you can put a check mark in the Show in Chart module. Click OK to save your new folder. If you're using Windows 10, or if you're able to install Microsoft DirectX, you'll be able to view your perio chart in graphical form that will also show the teeth. Just click on the graphical button. Now, you can see the perio exam is in an easy to read picture format and can explain the patient's current condition. This graphical perio chart can also be saved to the Images folder. all of your perio exams entered will automatically save. Ortho chart. If you perform ortho treatment in your office, you can use the ortho chart. The ortho chart is a standalone feature in the chart module that can help you keep your ortho treatment records organized in a specific location for easy access. Before you can use the ortho chart, you have to set it up first. First, click on Setup, then Ortho. Here, you can choose to have the details of your ortho treatment show up in your account module and in your ortho chart in the chart module. You can also choose to recognize ortho claims in your account module with a special note. You can also select to have the date of placement and attach your ortho codes, so once you enter the codes for this patient and mark them as complete, it will help you start the tracking process of how much time they have left on their treatment. Once you have enabled your ortho setup, it is now time to set up the documentation fields in your ortho chart. Click on Setup in the upper left corner of the ortho chart. Next, click on the Setup Tabs button. Having multiple tabs with different information can help you keep more comprehensive treatment notes. You can have as many tabs as you prefer. Click Add to create a new tab, or double-click on an existing tab name to edit. Enter the tab name, then click OK. The columns that show on an ortho chart tab are set in display fields. Columns can allow text entry, offer selection from a pick list, or show a signature box. On the Setup Display Fields window, click the Tab dropdown and select the tab. The fields listed under Fields Showing reflect the columns that will show for the tab. If you want to create a new column, in the New Field, type in the name of the column. We're going to add Ortho Notes. Now, click on the left arrow button to have this field added to the Fields Showing column. Add the names of any fields that you will need for complete ortho treatment documentation. Make sure to click OK to save. You can add or remove columns as needed. To add a field option that already exists, highlight it under Available Fields, then click on the left arrow. To remove a field, highlight it under Fields Showing, then click the right arrow. To edit a column name, customize width, or create pick list options, double-click the field under Fields Showing. The display name and internal name can be used together to have columns' display names appear the same but contain different information that is not duplicated across all tabs. For example, Notes and Notes in the Ortho tab and Patient tab are different. Otherwise, just enter an internal name. There isn't any adjustment needed for minimum width because it is based on the length of the names and of the column. You can enter the actual width of the column as needed to make sure you can see all of your information. Check to show signature box in the ortho chart. Only check this box if this column is for an electronic signature. It will add a signature box to the ortho chart, and this column will indicate when an electronic signature is valid. Please note that only one column can be used for signature validation. The one entry per line is to add options for a pick list or leave blank to allow text entry. If creating a pick list, when a user clicks on a cell in this column, a drop-down list of all options will show. Enter one selection item per line. Use the up and down arrows to reorder items. Then, click OK to save. Now that you have your ortho chart set up, let me show you how you will use it to document your ortho visit. The level of detail in the information that appears in your ortho chart depends on what you have previously set up. Click on the Add Date button and type in the date of the ortho exam. Once the date row is on the ortho chart, to enter exam information, select the Chart tab, then click in a cell. Cells will allow text or allow selection from a pick list. To add auto notes to a cell, highlight the cell, then click Auto Note in the lower left. If you would like to know more about the auto notes, we do have a webinar dedicated to this topic. If a signature box shows, electronically sign the highlighted entry, or add an electronic signature stamp for the person currently logged in. To use the signature feature, Allow digital signatures must be turned on in the chart module preferences. Once you have completed your entry, click OK to save. All OrthoChart entries are sorted by date and oldest to newest. When a tab is opened, only date entries with data in them will show. Entering data on one tab populates all tabs with that date and data if columns are the same. This helps avoid having to enter the same data twice. The current date always shows as a new row, and the grid automatically scrolls to the most recent entry. To enter information in the Patients field, just double left click the row to enter information. A list of selectable options will show for pick list fields. If you would like to print a copy of the OrthoChart for your patient, click Print to print the OrthoChart grid exactly as it shows when print is clicked. You may want to print the chart in landscape mode to fit all of the information. There is also an audit trail, so at any time you can see the history of changes made to the OrthoChart. Please note that once you enter a date in the OrthoChart, it cannot be deleted. Chairside consent forms. The next button on the chart module toolbar is the Consent Forms button. If your goal is to have a truly paperless office, you can create electronic consent forms, and using a tablet PC or Topaz signature pad, your patients can sign their procedure consent forms right from the operatory. To have your patients sign a consent form, you click on the drop-down arrow next to the consent button. You will see a list of any forms you have added to the PracticeWeb software. Once you click on the form that your patient is supposed to sign, you will see the form appear on your screen. Using the Sheets framework, you can customize your forms to automatically import the patient's information, dates, and many other important pieces of information that can help you use your office's forms more efficiently. We have another webinar that is dedicated on how to use the Sheets framework and customizing your own forms. Using a tablet PC or a Topaz signature pad, your patient can sign the consent forms electronically, and once you click OK to save a record of that consent form, it is kept in the progress notes section of the chart module. Because the patient has signed the form, it is also locked and cannot be changed. As I mentioned earlier, if you would like more information on the process of customizing the consent form, please watch our other webinar specifically on the Sheets framework feature. Tooth Chart button. The Tooth Chart allows you to expand the size of your graphical tooth chart to full monitor, or save a copy of the graphical tooth chart to your images folder. If you are doing a detailed treatment plan consultation, you can click on the drop-down next to the Tooth Chart button and click on Show Big. This will expand the chart, and you can use the full monitor graphic to provide patient education and help explain your current recommended treatment. You can click on the X at the upper right when finished to return to the chart module. If your patient is having treatment completed in stages, you can use the slider bar below the graphical tooth chart to select your date, then click Save to Images. You can save as many treatment dates as you want. If you want to show the patient the progression of your work, you can click on the Tooth Charts tab at the bottom of your chart module and show your patient their treatment progress. If you double click on the image, it will expand the image for you. If you don't see a Tooth Chart tab on your software, click on Setup, then go to Definitions. Select Image Categories, double click on the option for Tooth Chart, then make sure to put a check mark in Chart Module. Now you will have the Tooth Chart tab available. Exam Sheets. The last button on the Tooth Chart toolbar is for Exam Sheets. This feature can be valuable for some dental specials that require more documentation than what the general odontogram allows. You can customize your exam sheets under Sheets in the Setup menu. You can watch the Sheets Framework webinar mentioned earlier for more details. To use this feature, click on the Exam Sheets button. You will see a list of available sheets that have been previously made. Click Add to select the sheet that you will use for this visit. Based on your exam notes, you can enter any information necessary for this visit. Then, click OK to save the sheet in the Progress Notes section. Lastly, if you are using a digital X-ray system, you will see a button in the name of whatever digital imaging software you have installed. If you click on this button and your imaging software doesn't open, then please call our support for further assistance. This completes our overview of the toolbar in the chart module. Please watch our other videos to continue learning how to use more advanced features to achieve a truly paperless office. If you have any questions, please call our support team at 800-845-9379, option 2. Or you can send an email to support@practice-web.com.